everybody, and welcome back to Amity Bloom. My name is Nazi, and I don't usually do flip throughs of the custom journals that I create, but this one I asked for permission from the person that I created this journal for, and she was so kind and said that she would be honored. And I really loved how this journal turned out, and I really liked the theme of it, and I just had so much fun creating it. So I wanted to show you guys because I also included some different things, and I wanted to give you guys some tips as well that I tried out in here. So this is the journal. The lady that contacted me lives on a farm, like a 20-acre farm, and she was so kind. We talked back and forth, and she gave me the color schemes, which are earth tones, and she said that she wanted the theme to be animals and about her farm, and it's right up my alley. Like I was so excited to work on this project that I completed it all in one day. I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop working on it. I absolutely loved it. And so the cover is made from this vintage farm cardstock. As you can tell on the back, there is some images of farmhouses, cows, tractors, little goats and lambs. I loved it, and it's textured also. It's textured cardstock, and then on the back I tea stained the edges and a little bit on the middle, and these are some recipes, so it's like this vintage farm receipt paper. And so on the cover I just added this floral fabric. As always, I love my florals. So I added the fabric on the top. I used some thread on the sides just to make it look a little bit more rustic. But here are some vintage stickers, and they look like the typewriter keys. If you've ever seen a typewriter, they look just like this, and I loved it. So I added that. I put the word love on the side. And then down here I made a little collage. This actually is some matte ribbon that is tea stained and has printed on it some script and some flowers. So I thought that was fitting. It looked really cool all together. And then on the bottom I just sewed on a little ruffle made from the same fabric as this. I just darkened it up, and then here's a little bit of lace and a button with some thread. And this little button, as well as some other buttons that I've included inside. I actually, so excited and proud of myself, I went on eBay trying to find buttons, vintage buttons, like different sets. And my antique store didn't carry them. I went to thrift stores, I just couldn't find it. And I managed to win a bid on eBay. So proud of myself because I never win those darn things. And so I finally won one. And it came with a huge set of just vintage buttons of all shapes, all sizes. And here's some vintage buckles, which I'm excited to use these in a journal. Like just a plethora of different types of buttons. So I'm pretty much set with buttons. I absolutely love my little container of buttons. Is anyone else like me and loves to put their little journal things in little containers like kitchenware? I love it. I just think it's really cute. If you guys want to find some cool items and cool textiles or embellishments to use in your journal, try eBay. You can find some really cool, authentic, and vintage stuff on there. So that is the cover. Opening it up, on the inside, there is a pocket. As always, you can see that beautiful farm paper. I made a tag out of it, except this one is not tea stained. I just left it regular, but I left that tag in there. On here is a little ruffle made out of fabric, and then I added 3 copper buttons on there. A quick tip if you want to add buttons in a journal, what I have found is that in order for you to still be able to write and to not feel like for it to not interfere with your writing, add some fabric on the back. Preferably some thicker fabric. As you can see, this fabric is not as thin as, like, let's say this, which is just a little piece of cotton. This is some thicker fabric, so if you add the fabric and then you add the buttons, it kind of gives it a little bit of a cushion so that you can still write on it. It's not as rough. So that's just a quick tip if you want to include buttons on your pages. Here is a tuck spot made out of some tracing paper. with my tea bag, a little tea bag ruffle with the tag and the string. And then here's some lace up at the top, and in here I've included a picture from a vintage children's book of a little goat. And I included this because she mentioned to me that one of her precious little goats, Joy, she unfortunately passed away from pneumonia a couple weeks ago, and I just wanted to put that in there as an ode to her sweet, lovely little goat. So please send her some loving prayers for her Joy and also for the rest of her animals. And then here is some scrapbook paper, some vintage ledger paper. I made a little pocket. I added a little trim of some scarf, some lace, thread, and a little cutout of a vintage farmhouse from a fabric. And inside here is a couple more pages from that vintage children's storybook. I love the crinkle. Right here, this, I was inspired by my first original journal that I created for myself. If you've been following me for a while, you would know and recognize this journal. This was the first ever junk journal that I created. I have a tutorial on this that I will link below. But this was the first ever journal that started all of this. This was the first one. And here, I have it tabbed, is where I did this, which was my fabric tip-in, but trying to cover up the full sheet. But it gives really good texture and I think a lot of dimension to your pages. So that is where that inspiration came from. And then at the top, this is some tea bag that looks like washi, and then some vintage thread up at the top. People have been asking me, when you're looking for fabric to decorate your journals with or for your covers, definitely go to your local fabric shops like Hobby Lobby, Joann's, your antique stores. That's my first recommendation, is go to your antique stores. Even thrift stores sometimes have some good quality fabric, but I would try to stay away from purchasing your fabric on eBay or, you know, online, Amazon, places like that, just because sometimes those areas say they have a wonderful piece of fabric, but when they actually gets to you, it's quite honestly very cheap. When I first started with junk journal making, I ordered some fabric from eBay, and the description was that it was beautiful, it was luscious, and it took, first of all, a long time for me to get it, and then when I saw it in person, the fibers are so thin, it's a really cheap material, and you're just taking a huge risk. And for me, the most important thing when you're going to choose fabric in your journal is feel it. Feel the texture, feel the thread. So that's a quick tip, because a lot of you guys have been messaging me, asking me where I get my fabric and how I choose my fabric, and that is the best tip that I can give to you, is make sure you go to a place where you can actually feel the fibers, feel the texture of the fabric, and that the money that you're paying, you know, goes to good quality fabric. So that is why I am very picky when it comes to the fabric that I use. But this I managed to find at my local antique shop, some vintage farm fabric. I have not too much of it, so that's why this is very special. It's just it's a little piggy, and it had some lace on it, and you can flip it out, and then you still have areas on the back for journaling. Here is just a pocket, a little journal spot, a journaling spot that I decided to include for her. Here's one of my fabric clusters. I usually, you know, take 3 elements of fabric or lace and I just stitch it together to make kind of like a cluster, a little embellishment. But this one is different because I made the cluster into a little text spot. And so this is just a piece of the paper, the vintage farm paper from the cover. And then I just had some fun with my sewing machine and stamps, and I just put on here Wonder. So obviously you can put little pictures in here. So cute. Here's the envelope. Inside I have included some special ephemera for her that has the names of her lovely little animals. That flips out. It's punched with this beautiful floral punch. This punch, because I've had a couple questions on it, is from Martha Stewart. Let me show you. It's this punch, and I found it at Joann's, and it was on sale. It's quite pricey, but luckily I found it on sale, and I just couldn't pass it up. But it's this punch, if you guys were wondering. That's that. On here, it's just the same fabric, the floral fabric that I used on the cover. I made a pocket out of it, added some thread, some lace, And it's just a card that says, "A simple life is a happy life." I have a ton of vintage farm ephemera, so I was really happy to use it in here. Some beautiful illustrations. This page I made a pocket, a little cotton ruffle with some thread sewn into the center. I love it. It looks like a little tree branch. And then here is a recipe card, just in case you wanted to put a recipe in here. And then this is more of that vintage children's book pages from that farm book that I managed to find. Some plain paper, ledger, really cool transfers, really cool. It kind of looks like gummy worms, as if gummy worms were laid on top. And then this is so exciting. This is the same thing, a tip-in, a fabric tip-in, but I also made a pocket. So this has a cool little history to it. Over the past summer, we were going to go camping, and we stopped at at this local farm where they were having an estate sale. And when we got there, pretty much everything was sold except for some napkins and some books. And I managed to pick up a couple different napkins that were in their family for years. I don't know why they wanted to get rid of it, but they did. And so this is some really old, truly vintage farm napkins that were used on this farm. And so I thought it would just make it extra special if I included it in here. I love the colors. The thread is just amazing. It's thick. You can feel the quality. It's just, oh, I love it. I managed to save a couple little strips for my journal as well. And then I stitched it in to make it a little tip-in, as if it's washi. Just pretend this was washi so that you can tip it in. This is a cow that I cut out of that vintage farm fabric, and then in the belly I made a little text spot, and it's just a card that says memories. So you have a little text spot in the belly of the cow, and then I added the lace to make it as a little bookmark that you can flip it open a little bit easier. So that was that. I was so happy with how this turned out, but I definitely will be doing this for my future journals. Some paper. And then this on the back. I loved how this one turned out as well. This tag, this little text spot, I actually saw on one of Nick the Booksmith's videos, and I thought that was a great idea. Especially what I loved was the hole reinforcer, because that way you can add a pin and it doesn't tear through the paper, because sometimes if you add a pin through the paper or through the fabric, sometimes it's too thick or it tears the paper. So it's just so perfect, and that way the person that uses the journal can easily remove it if they don't like it or add more to it. So I thought that was a great idea, so that I implemented that into the journal. And then on the side is some thread that I just stitched onto the side. I made a little tiny little pocket of a little chicken on the cover, because she told me that she had some chickens on her farm. And then in the pocket is this really cute burlap tag that has an image of some leaves and of a house that's embroidered on there, which I thought is so cute, and the little heart in the middle, because, you know, your family, your home, you know, that's the most important things in life is, you know, your loved ones. And I just wanted to include that little tag in there. And of course, a little pin with a little bird dangling from it. You can customize it in here. I was thinking it'd be really cool if you got like a copy of your farmhouse key and added the key in here. I thought that would be really cool, but just some ideas. And then, as like I said before, a little tuck spot right there. And then this also comes out so that you have more journaling space. And that is the entire journal. I hope that you guys liked it. I had such a blast creating this journal. It was vintage, it was rustic, it was just filled with animals. I love it. So I hope that the tips that I shared with you, you will use in your own personal journals. And I'm just so happy with all of the messages that you guys send me and pictures of the journals that you guys create. You know, any kind of journal that you create, it is for you, it is special to you, and I love seeing this community grow and seeing more people getting inspired and creating all of these different types of journals. That was my little spiel. So I hope that you guys loved. Gosh, I know I'm corny. I hope that you guys loved this video. And until next time, I hope that you guys have a great day filled with peace and love. Bye-bye.